Hey everybody, welcome, welcome to Hidden Horror. Thank you for spending this time with me. I appreciate that. Let's get started. Good afternoon. Hey everybody. Welcome to Hidden Horror. How are you guys doing? How do you feel? I'm feeling pretty good. I'm coming back because, as I told you, I was going to do two of the affidavits that Sy Ray completed and submitted on March 25th, 2025. The first video, please check that out. I'm not going to go over Sy Ray's background, his experience. Please check that video out. That video has to be at least an hour and a half long, and you can catch up and pick up. We can consider this to be like a part two. We're going to talk about the vague and undisclosed expert testimony that Sy Ray put in the affidavit that he's feeling is happening in the evidence that the prosecution has put on in the records. Okay, so please check out my first video. I go over Sy Ray's background. Again, I do not want to give him a title, but he does have an extensive background. He was in law enforcement. He was managing people, training people. He has an expertise in cell phone data that's used to help place a person where their location is. He can determine if a cell phone is turned off or on. Just a lot of information in the first video. So please check that video out. This video is going to be short and it's only going to focus on the affidavit of Sy Ray, okay, as it relates to the vague and undisclosed expert testimony, okay? So please check out the first video. This one will be a lot shorter. We're not going to go over Sy Ray's background, his experience. That first video, it has all of that information, so please check it out. I want to share my screen. I'm going to go straight to Hidden Horror. The affidavit is on the Hidden Horror Facebook page. So let's click on that so we can go over it. We'll try to make it large enough so you can view it. If you're not, if you're not able to see it, please just go to the Hidden Horror Facebook page, click on it, and then you can expand it as needed. That is the best way that I can tell you. You could screenshot it on your phone and enlarge it. I'm going to go through it with you, along with you. And again, I'm not going to go over Sy Ray's background again. We're just going to focus on this affidavit that he filed in support of Bryan Kohberger's motion in Liminie 2 as it relates to the vague and undisclosed expert testimony. Okay, so we're not going to go over the first two pages. We're going to go right down into page 4. Okay. Please understand. You can check out the other pages when you have time, if you choose to. But we're going to get right into it. Okay. So let's get started. In preparing this affidavit, I have reviewed the motion in Liminie number 2, vague and undisclosed expert testimony filed by the defendant on February 24th, 2025. So Sy Ray is saying he has reviewed it, and now this is what he's concluding. This is the information he's gathered from it. He's saying, I have reviewed all of the state's responses in reference to this motion, as well as Special Agent Balance's draft report and final report. Okay. He says, I am addressing the matter of FBI Special Agent Nicholas Balance's anticipated testimony in this affidavit in what has not been disclosed. I have reviewed the initial reports, final report, first discourse, second disclosures, and now the third disclosure. Despite this progression of disclosure, Special Agent balances opinions on the relevant issues at hand still have not been disclosed. So let me just catch you up to everything that he's basically saying. So Sy Ray is saying, okay, so I'm anticipating what Special Agent Balance is going to testify to. And I have reviewed all of these reports, all of these disclosures. And although I have this information, I still do not know what Special Agent Balance's opinion is. I don't know. After going through all of this information, I still do not know what is his opinion. What is his opinion on all of these records, okay? So we want to go to number 6 now. So Sy Ray says, I have reviewed disclosures. Excuse me, he didn't say it, he wrote it, and this is an affidavit, so excuse my language. I have reviewed disclosures in reference to Special Agent Balance's interpretations and opinions relating to the AT&T call detail records. They are vague, and at times they're contradictory. At this time, I am unable to identify his methodologies and or resulting opinions on most of his work, preventing me from any real analysis to determine the basis of his opinions. So what Sy Ray is saying is, I'm an expert. I'm reviewing the information, the disclosures, all of these records, and I don't understand what the opinion of Special Agent Balance is, okay? I don't know where he's going with this. He's saying that at times it's like he is contradicting himself. Maybe one part of the record says this, and another part of the record or information or whatever he's stating says something different. So it's contradictory information. And also, not just contradictory, he's being vague. He doesn't, Sy Ray is saying, I don't understand what method he's using. What process is he using where he's getting his opinions from? And because of that, because I don't have an understanding of his methods, how he's getting to the opinions he's getting, I can't make a review. I can't have an opinion. I can't really analyze what he's providing me, okay? I know it's confusing. I apologize, but it's as if he's given this information, but he can't come to, Sy Ray can't come to any conclusions because it's contradictory. It's very vague. He doesn't follow any known method, any way that you could follow how he got to his results. He doesn't understand it. He just doesn't understand his opinions because of the work that he's done. He can't follow it. He can't understand his methods of how he got to his results. Okay, so let's go to number 7. The disclosures in reference to the facts and data relied on by Special Agent Balance to form his opinions regarding the AT&T sale detail records are conflicting and void of substance. So again, contradictory, conflicting. They don't have any value. That's pretty bad. Okay. His work does not contain his methodology other than a paragraph. He does not mention AT&T, handoff data, drive test mapping, or any other critical methodology required in this analysis. This report does not provide explanation why Special Agent Balance may or may not rely on AT&T data, preventing me from any real analysis of his opinion. So Sy Ray saying he can't really analyze what Special Agent Balance opinion is, because he doesn't use any of the proven methods. He's not using the handoff data. He's not demonstrating through drive test mapping, and he doesn't even mention AT&T at all. So he has nothing to go on. He's not going to make a opinion of Special Agent Balance's work because of all of these issues. Okay, let's go on to number 8. He says, I regularly work as a subject matter expert, and it is standard in my field for expert opinions to be well documented and based on accepted best practices or methodology. The facts and data relied upon to reach an opinion are known and disclosed. Special Agent Balance work is a departure from the field standard. He has not disclosed his methodology and analysis. Okay. So what he's saying is he's not using common methods. He's not using proven methods. He's saying that Sy Ray regularly does this work. He's an expert, and he can't follow what Special Agent Balance is doing, what he based his opinion off. What data did he rely on? He just doesn't know because it's not disclosed. Okay, let's go to some more parts. He says this is partially due to contradicting methodologies that have been disclosed. This is partially due to vague work product absent of any real substance as to facts and data. This is partially due to changes that evolve through iterations of work product without explanation and documented by facts and data as a basis. So Sy Ray is saying if you have the data, we can work off of that. Use a known methodology to create your work product, because that's where you can come to your opinion. And then I can refer it, I can review it and come to my opinion. But you didn't do that. You have this work product provided, but I can't follow it. I don't have an explanation for how you got to this point. I can't see how you got there because you didn't document it. You didn't provide any supporting documents. You need facts, you need data to come to some conclusions, and you didn't provide that. So let's continue on. Number 9, he says, I did know that Special Agent Balance has a dual role in this case. He's an expert witness for the state, and using these same skills, he was involved in the actual investigation from the onset. He was co-located with investigators throughout the investigation. His opinions and interpretations were relied on by investigators and prosecutors. These interpretations and opinions found their way into every probable cause statement supporting search warrants against the defendant. He is referenced in nearly every search warrant issued. His opinions and interpretations were an integral piece of building probable cause against the defendant. Okay, so Sy Ray is saying at every part of the investigation, Special Agent Balance, he was in the investigation from the onset. He worked with law enforcement. He worked with the prosecutors, and they relied on him. They respected his opinion. They worked under his direction. So when they were getting the probable cause statement and requesting the search warrants, they relied on his opinions. They feel like they follow his guide, his leadership in a way when they were working. They referenced him, his opinions, whatever investigative work he was doing in all areas of the case. And that helped build the probable cause affidavit against Bryan Kohberger. Okay, let's go on to the next page. So now, let's see. Unfortunately, most of his opinions and interpretations provided to investigators and prosecutors are not supported by the evidence in this case. He says, it is this very reason I was awaiting Special Agent Balance's report detailing the facts, data, methodology, and analysis relied on to make such egregious errors. I expected to see work that explained the conclusions as well as properly addressing omitted analysis and errors in the work. The omitted work in this case is exculpatory to Mr. Kohberger. My apologies, I'm like running over my own words because it's really concerning that other law enforcement officials in Moscow, as well as the prosecutor, heavily relied on special agent Balance's opinions, his recommendations, the work product that he created. And now we have Sy Ray coming in and saying, well, most of those opinions, most of the work that he did, most of the information he provided to the law enforcement officials in Moscow, as well as the prosecutors, it was not supported by the evidence, by the actual evidence that these are major mistakes, major areas, and that the special agent balance report, it wasn't in detail, it wasn't specific, it didn't have any supporting facts, it didn't have any supporting data, and he couldn't follow the methodology. Again, his analysis is erroneous in a really, really bad way. He didn't, Special Agent Balance didn't go and correct and identify these errors. Um, and these mistakes, they really caused great harm to Bryan Kohberger. And that these mistakes may also demonstrate that Bryan Kohberger may have been selected erroneously. Okay. Number 10. Special Agent Balance did not include analysis of AT&T handoff data provided by AT&T for the defendant's mobile device on November 13th, 2022, between the hours of 2:30 a.m. and 3 a.m. The handoff data in the defendant's AT&T records during this time is exculpatory to the defendant. So what Sy Ray is saying is this time period, this 2:30 a.m. to 3 a.m. time period, these records that are from AT&T, they're going to tend to prove Bryan Kohberger's innocence. Let's continue. Number 12. Special Agent Balance did not include an analysis of AT&T data regarding 23 time periods in his report that he appears to be suggesting the defendant was at or very near the crime scene. So that's like a bombshell. So if Special Agent Balance is suggesting that Bryan Kohberger was near, and when they say crime scene, we're going to assume this is 1122 King Road. So if he's suggesting that Bryan Kohberger was near 1122 King Road 23 times, but he did not include how he got to that, I mean, if you can state that with the idea that this happened 23 times, can you demonstrate, can you show, can you document, can you provide evidence of how you got to that 23 times? How close was he? What is the distance? You can't just state that. You have to provide supporting documentation, okay? Let's continue. This opinion appears to be based on cell tower connections, primarily handoff connections in the defendant's AT&T records. It is difficult to determine the process or methodology Special Agent Balance relied on to suggest this connection for several reasons because the AT&T records do not support the statement. So he's saying that he doesn't understand how Special Agent Balance came to this conclusion because when you view the AT&T records, Bryan Kohberger's AT&T records, this is not what they're demonstrating. They're not demonstrating that Bryan Kohberger was near the crime scene / 1122 King Road 23 times. They don't demonstrate that. So Sy Ray is saying he doesn't understand how he got to that conclusion. What did he use? What was his methodology? We still don't know. And that's why this affidavit is saying that the records, the information is vague. Okay, let's continue. We're on C right here. There is no report or analysis detailing the defendant's movements between June 2022 and December of 2022, which would be needed to surmise the defendant's phone was at or near the crime scene 23 times prior to the homicides. So let me just back this up. So I'm going to say allegedly. Allegedly, Bryan Kohberger moved to Pullman, Washington in June of 2022. So I gather that time frame, which is the movements of Bryan Kohberger between June of 2022 and December of 2022. He's saying, well, if there is no report or no analysis of Bryan Kohberger's movements, basically from the time he moved to Pullman, Washington, to immediately after the murder of the Idaho 4 students, which would have been in November, on November 12/13, and you're looking immediately after that to December of 2022, if there was no report, no analysis, how can you then state and come to the conclusion that Bryan Kohberger's phone was near the crime scene? It's nothing to support that. You haven't provided any records, any documentation to support that. And then you don't have a report. You don't have any type of analysis to make that statement. Okay. Let's go on. So we're on C1. There is no mapping showing the network connections relied upon. And then 2, there are no drive test coverage maps of the other than one cell site. Okay. Let's move on. We're going to go to number 13. A recent disclosure about what Special Agent Balance may testify to reads, handoffs are maps case-by-case basis, which is determined by the needs of the investigation. From my experience as a subject matter expert in this field, this claim is outside of any established practice or reliable methodology of analysis. The standard is that all data must be analyzed and considered, regardless of how it impacts the investigation. So he's saying that special agent in a disclosure, he may testify about these handoffs and that they're only mapped on a case-by-case basis and is determined by the needs of the investigation. Whereas Sy Ray is saying, as a standard practice, all data, every piece of data, you have to review, you have to analyze, you have to consider. And it's regardless of how it impacts the investigation. So you're not cherry picking, you're doing a complete review of all of the information to come to a determination, not case by case. Okay, no. On a standard level, you review everything. Okay, that is what Sy Ray is saying. Let's continue. Still got a lot left to go. Okay. Number 14, he says, I have reviewed the disclosures about what Special Agent Balance will testify to and do not find the disclosures provide further analysis to support his opinions. Then little a. The first cell site recorded in this session is the only cell site that is chosen based on measurements made by the cell phone, representing the best signal from these measurements and ranking of surrounding cell sites. This theory can be disproven with the AT&T records themselves. This response does not explain why he would use handoff data at certain times while ignoring it at other times. Okay. B, the coverage maps are created using the actual measurements taken by the GAR and interpolation using the natural neighbor algorithm. In other words, is looking at known values at known locations to determine the expected value at a location where a measurement couldn't have been taken. The natural neighbor algorithm was first published by Robin Simpson in 1981, and it is widely accepted in both academia and as an industry standard in determining the coverage of a particular cell site within a broader cellular network. Sy Ray writes, this statement falls well short of any real disclosure of how the GAR product estimates cell site coverage areas. I have been in direct contact with Gladiator Forensics, and this statement contradicts what Gladiator Forensics communicated to me about their own product. Okay, let's continue. Let's go to C. A recent disclosure states page 13 depicts cellular phone usage by the 8458 phone, and that's Bryan Kohberger's last four digits of his cell phone, okay? Phone on November 13, 2022, and Balance is expected to testify that when the 8458 phone interacted with the AT&T network at 2:47 29 seconds a.m., the phone was not at the Bryan Kohberger residence marked BK on the map. Rather, it was southeast of the Bryan Kohberger residence as depicted by the drive test data. Balance is also expected to testify that he analyzed additional handoff data that occurred during this data session and that the 8458 phone stopped communicating with the network at 2:54 and 45 seconds a.m. Sy Ray writes, this disclosure does not provide an analysis or an opinion as to what Special Agent Balance found when he analyzed the additional handoff data that occurred during this data session. This is the very data I previously testified about having been omitted from Special Agent Balance's work product and opinions. Number 15, Special Agent Balance conducted a significant amount of drive test data, has not provided that data to support his work. We have little a now. Drive test data is collected when an investigator takes radio frequency survey equipment out into the field and collects signal measurement of the cellular network by driving specific grid patterns through an area. It is possible to capture enough data to reliably estimate a cell site's coverage area. Okay, we're going to go to the next page. Okay, stick with me. Okay, we're almost done. So we're at B now. 15B, okay? In this case, Special Agent Balance and Special Agent Kennedy spent several days conducting drive tests in and around Pullman and Moscow. So that's Pullman, Washington, and Moscow, Idaho. Okay. In all, they collected well over 500,000 data points, enough data points to effectively map the coverage areas of all relevant sales sites related to this case, that being roughly 24 sales sectors. 15C, okay? Special Agent Balance has only produced coverage mapping for 4 sectors, okay? Yeah, that's a lot smaller. Okay. 15D. Special Agent Balance has collected the required data and does have access to the required software to map all of the sectors he analyzed in his drive test efforts. The conversion of raw data to a coverage image is relatively non-existent when compared to the effort required to collect the raw data. Okay. So he has the information. He was able to gather enough relevant sales sites to do roughly 24 sales sectors, but he only produced mapping for 4 sectors. Okay. I guess the mapping is the easier part. Collecting the data, it seems like it is the harder part. It's more work involved in trying to collect that data, okay? Let's go on to number 16. Special Agent Balance, in accordance with FBI CAS policy, had his work peer-reviewed by another FBA CAS agent, Special Agent Kennedy. There are official reports stating Special Agent Kennedy did peer review Special Agent Balance's work product and signed off as it being complete and accurate. Oh, this is not looking good for the FBI. This is not looking good for the FBI. Oh my goodness. Okay. 16A. This is Sy Ray now. I created the first subject matter expert certification course in the United States in this field for state and local law enforcement. Okay, he's getting into his resume now, okay? 16B, I have taught this course for over a decade, certifying over 100 subject matter experts in this field. 16C, part of that course includes the peer review process. The standard in the field dictate that data must support a peer review. 16D, I have personally completed well over 50 peer reviews myself. 16E, the state has not disclosed the required data to support a peer review of Special Agent Balance's work. Okay, everybody. Sy Ray, he's laying it out. He is coming to some conclusions about the work that the FBI did. And it's not looking good. It's looking like it was unprofessional, incomplete, inaccurate, full of errors, not peer reviewed properly. That this information has been passed on to the Moscow local law enforcement as well as the prosecutors inaccurately, misinformation, mistakes. Procedures were not followed. There was no methodology, allegedly. There was no supporting documents. In fact, things that were analyzed and conclusions were made, there was contradictory information, conflicting information, inaccurate information. according to Sy Ray in this affidavit. Listen, mistakes have been made, and it does happen. But at some point, someone has to step in on this case and make a decision. Things have not been handled properly in the Idaho 4 murder case. And the sad part is, let me see if I can get a picture up. The sad part is the victims, right? Where is justice? Where's justice for them? I don't even know where I want to go with this. Man, it sucks. Where is justice for them? For their families, for their siblings, for their parents, for their friends. You know, what a tremendous loss. Just beyond sad. And I try not to get deep into the reasons why I feel, I want to go back with a fresh start on this case. I want to go back to the night, Saturday night, Friday night, leading up into the murders. What was happening in Moscow, Idaho? What was going on with Ethan that night? Why did he allegedly get into a fight? What was going on with Kaylee? Kaylee didn't even live on King Road anymore. She was moving. She was moving out of state. She had just got a new car. She was graduating. She was looking forward to her future, her plans. She was visiting her best friend, her longtime best friend, Maddie, hanging out with her, going out into the community, having fun. And Zaina, right? Zaina's with her boyfriend, just hanging out on a typical weekend after school. Why did this happen to them? How did this happen? Where did the murders take place? We know that Kaylee and Maddie, they died from a stabbing. Allegedly, Kaylee had defensive wounds. That means she fought against her attacker. We know that Ethan was an athlete. He was tall. We know that Zaina had defensive wounds. She fought against her attacker. Man, so sad. We know that Zaina, she was attacked. The weapon that was used to attack her, it left a mark on her. It had an edge. We know that Ethan, he was attacked with a blunt force object. So we're seeing different wounds. And that doesn't mean that all were not stabbed. We don't have all the information. That's what leads me to believe, to think, to wonder, were they attacked at the same time? I believe that Kaylee and Maddie were attacked at the same time. And I also believe Ethan and Zayna were attacked at the same time, but not all together in the house, and maybe not in the house at all. I don't know, because when I listen to the 911 call, no one says they see blood. No one says they smell blood. No one says all the roommates are deceased. No one says that this is a bloodbath, that there's blood everywhere, dripping on the walls, the floor, the ceiling, the furniture. No one says that. No one says that they were stabbed. No one says that they're injured. They say that Zaina is passed out. To me, describing like a drug overdose, not a brutal, vicious stabbing with defensive wounds, with cuts. The only thing I care about is getting to the bottom of who killed, who murdered all four of these students. I don't care who did it. I'm not advocating for anyone, but I can't sit here and do video after video after video and lie when I know what a crime scene should look like, when I know what a stabbing looks like, when I know what happens when someone has defensive wounds. I'm not going to lie to you. I think we've been lied to from the beginning, from the first press conference, when we were told that you have two surviving roommates. They were unharmed, and he never said that they were witnesses. We've been lied to from day one. From the 911 call, never acknowledging blood, the smell of blood, stabbings, that all four were dead. We've been lied to that these two roommates, Bethany Funk and Dylan Mortensen, were asleep. They were up. They were active. They were on their phones for hours. They were sending messages. They were making phone calls. They were taking photos. We know about the shoe impression that was cleaned up. Someone cleaned up this crime scene because there would have been blood everywhere. There would have been shoe impressions everywhere. We were told early on that the front door at 1122 King Road was open as early as 8 a.m. We have witness that said that Dylan Mortensen was in the backyard with others, multiple people, as early as 8:15, 8:30 a.m. We know that messages were being sent and received on Snapchat. There are witnesses that say that it was supposed to be a stabbing, and then it changed to OD. And they believed there was an overdose because they knew drugs were being sold in that house. They did drugs in that house. They bought drugs in that house. We were told that drugs were flushed down the toilet. And the threat was, we're going to get you. You're going to pay for it. Because why did Kaylee even have to come back? Was she lured back? Did someone ensure that she would come back to Moscow? Was she going to tell somebody about this? Was she going to report it to the police? Because we know she thought she had a stalker, right? The police had been coming over there at 1122 King Road over and over and over for noise complaints. We have them on video. We have a police officer taking a picture of Kaylee's ID. We have a different incident where a police officer was going to call Maddie. He had Maddie's cell phone number saved. We have another police officer acknowledge that there were no steps in the back of the house that leads to the next floor. And somehow, some way, almost 2 years ago, about a year and a half ago, or a little bit longer, I saw a video on YouTube. I tried to find it, can't find it. So much has been scrubbed from the internet, pictures, video, information. I've been told that K-bar knives were commonly in this area in Moscow, that they had pictures of various people carrying large knives, machetes, K-bar knives. You can't find any of that stuff anymore. I don't think it's going to happen. I believe what Ethan Chapin's mom said, that 2 a.m. was a dark hour, and what Ethan Chapin's dad said about the Moscow Police Department, unfortunately, it's ringing true to this day. Will we ever know what happened to these kids? I'm only going to focus on the evidence. I'm not bought by anybody. I'm not paid by anybody. I'm not taking donations. I'm not asking for you to donate. The most you can do is spread this word, spread this knowledge, share the information, follow, the algorithm. If you have followers, the video gets out more. If you like, the video gets out more. I don't need you to do anything for me. This is not about me. This is not about my channel. This murder actually made me create the Hidden Horror channel. It's always been my interest, my passion. But to see the injustice, to see all of the lies, to see the media just outright lie, spread lies, share false information, I've seen so much that I never talk about. I never bring it to the platform. And I'm investigating this case, as well as all my other cases. But this is my number one case. And I don't think it's going to get solved the way things have been handled, how the crime scene was destroyed, how information leading to other leads didn't get followed up, how all of this blood DNA, male unknown DNA, was not processed, how friends were called over and allowed to trample through this crime scene, how people were there for hours, as early as 8 a.m. How the lead detective, Brett Payne, shows up at 4 p.m. How the coroner shows up at 5:30 p.m. You don't want to get a time of death. You don't want to get an accurate time of death. You don't want to do an autopsy on these students. You don't want to do a toxicology screen on these students. Because it's just from the beginning. It's been a lack of transparency, We have been misled. We have been lied to. So many people have retired, have left this community. We have the Bethany Funks and Dylan Mortensen's where we calling them surviving witnesses. They don't want to testify. Dylan Mortensen, I watched a video where it was alleged that your boyfriend, who allegedly said he was not in this area, his pickup truck can be seen in the rear of a police cam video at the battlefield. That he allegedly was in the area the morning of the murders. Is that true? And way more I have been told, I have discovered. Is that true? Did you have an interest, Dylan Mortensen, in getting Kaylee to come back to 1122 King Road? And what about the information about the cleaners? The people that came to clean up the crime scene, allegedly. It's as if two different investigations are going on. You have the mainstream media, and then you have what people have uncovered, have found out, all of the rumors, and it's a mess. I pray that these 4 young people that lost their lives so violently, that they receive justice one day. But I have a feeling they will not get it in this lifetime. That it will be God, that it will come from above. Because there's so many efforts to hide the truth, to conceal it, to bury it, to protect people, groups, the university. It is the saddest situation. But it's been basically since from day one, from the inception, a complete debacle and what feels like a cover-up. And I don't talk about Brett Kopaka. I haven't, but I will say the information that I found out is very alarming, is very troubling. And it makes me feel that maybe what was said is true. Did Brett Kopaka witness? Did he witness something and record it? Is that why he was taken out? Was he going to go to the police? Was he going to report that? When I say controlling the narrative and having the power to puppet master in all of these areas is beyond scary. I pray for justice, but I know we may not get it in our lifetime for these 4 students. It saddens me. It disheartens me. And I don't like when evil prevails. I don't like when these dark people, their mindset, the power, the control they have. I don't like it when they get away with it, but nobody really gets away with anything. But me as a human want justice. And that's why I'm going to keep coming on here. I'm going to keep talking about the evidence. I'm going to keep highlighting what I feel is accurate information. Because they deserve it. I never met Ethan. I never met Zaina. I never met Kelly. I've never met Maddie. But when I tell you, it's something special about these four. I call them the Idaho Four. Something special about these four students. Not because they went to U of I, not because they were in Idaho. I think what's special about them is you could see the love, you could see the friendship, you could see the promise. You could see they could add value to the world. And you could almost feel that they did not deserve what happened to them. That's something that was very, very dark, that they had no idea that this was capable, that this would happen to them. And they were powerless. And there's a system, there's a structure in place in this Moscow, Idaho, that allowed this to happen and then hid the existence of it happening. And people, some out of fear, some out of power and access, can unalive someone and not be held accountable. And that's what I see. And I'm sorry to the families. I'm sorry to the victims. I'm sorry to your families. Sorry this happened to you. Thank you for spending this time with me. I really, really appreciate it. Please, I want you to stay safe, stay smart, stay savvy. Please be well, all my friends. Have a good evening. Bye, everybody.